Well, we made it through last week without me changing the name of this podcast. Thank you to everyone who told me to sit my ass down and stay in my lane on this one. One of my favorite things about myself is I can admit when I'm wrong, and I was wrong. It would have been a bad idea to change the name. So again, thank you all for setting me straight. My fire needs it sometimes. It was my 3-year elopement anniversary last week. Carrie and I have been married for 3 years already, loving that for me and for him. I wrote an article about it on my Substack where I revisited the astrological election that I chose for our elopement and just looked back at how that energy has come to pass thus far in our marriage. Go check out Moon Matters magazine on Substack. You can find that article on there as well as a ton of educational astrological content and horoscopes. My Substack is literally just at Delana. Good thing my name is still in the title of this podcast so you know how to spell it. We've got a lovely week ahead of us with some wonderful astrological shifts. Let's get into this week's forecast to find out what they are. While you know that we go in chronological order around here, I want to jump the gun and say that Mercury stations direct later this week. That's going to be one of the bigger events that we're working with, as well as Leo season starting. Happy Leo season to all my Leo line baddies. But let's start at the beginning. The beginning being Sunday, July 19th, today, if you're listening in real time. Last week, I mentioned that Mars and Saturn were in cahoots due to a sextile between them. That sextile peaks at the start of the week and continues pushing us as the weekend comes to an end. Last week, I was talking about how when you have the malefics come together in a harmonic aspect, it's like two of the most driven and capable people you know being paired on a group project together, and they aren't letting their competitive energy get in the way because it's a group project. If one wins, they both win. If one gets an A, the other gets an A, so they both win if one wins. This means that at the start of the week, we'll be riding this energy. Sunday scaries who, we're not worried about it. We're heading into the week feeling confident and accomplished, at least within the realms that Gemini and Aries rule, which is where the malefics currently reside. Walk with me for a moment and go all the way back to when Saturn ingressed into Aries earlier this year in February, and then when we had all those Aries transits around the time of Aries season. Back then, I told you to make a goal or think about cementing something with long-term ambition and value within the realm of Aries. This sextile between Mars and Saturn is peak progress time for that goal. It's a good time to check in, knock some of the things off the to-do list, and just make progress. And the things we're putting this energy towards should be the things we don't like to do. The things that feel like a slog or that we just can't stand for some reason. The malefics have no problem shouldering shitty jobs. They're used to it. Let this energy between Mars and Saturn be put towards the shitty parts of what needs done, whether it's the clerical side of things you don't like or it's taking the initiatory steps to start something new that's hard for you. This energy will be helpful in getting those shitty jobs done. For us, my husband and I know this is clearing out our old apartment. We've been in the house for like 2 months now, but we still have our apartment and we have it till the end of July. And this weekend, especially today, like you're probably listening to this, but I'm probably over at the apartment cleaning everything out and just throwing the rest of this stuff away because anything that's left there, we don't need anymore. We've been really putting this off, and I think it's just time that we go and do the overhaul and get it done. So that's likely what I'm doing this weekend right now as I'm actually talking to you in a different space-time. I'm over at my apartment cleaning shit out. Just know that. And it's something I've been putting off, and I'm using Mars and Saturn sextile to my advantage to help push me to get that done. This sextile is really an anti-procrastination shot in the ass. Use Sunday and parts of Monday to catch up on whatever it is you've been slacking on, particularly in the areas of life that the malefics currently inhabit. That aspect is going to carry us through to the bigger parts of the week, which is the Sun ingressing into Leo and then Mercury stationing direct. The Sun ingresses into Leo on Wednesday, July 22nd, and Leo season will be officially underway. This means the Sun will be in its place of domicile dignity. It'll be flowing and fabulous. It doesn't quite meet up with Jupiter because Jupiter is already at 5 degrees of Leo, which feels like it's going way too fast for my liking, but here we are. The Sun in its place of domicile dignity is able to burn bright, and is supported in its agenda. That's what domiciled and exalted dignity really mean, is that the agenda is supported. It's not better than detriment or fallen dignity. It's just that the energy and the agenda of that planet is in full support. Everyone has its support. So the agenda of Leo will pertain to the realm that Leo rules for you and what you got going on in there. That's what the agenda will be. This area of life has already started building a fire, and not just because Jupiter is currently there. I said back when Venus ingressed, it was the real beginnings of building the fire, and now that Leo season is here, the sun kind of expects a little warmth, a little heat, a nice welcome party. We need to let this area of life heat up and start taking ownership of it in new ways. With Jupiter already being there, we've been feeling the warmth subtly, but still, we've been feeling the embers at least. And again, we won't have a Jupiter Cazimi this week. That's next week's John, but that energy is going to be building and we will feel it. For right now, though, just enjoy the warmth that the sun in Leo brings. It's such a dramatic shift when the sun goes from the place of the moon, Cancer, to its home of Leo. Because the moon's light is still technically the sun's light, but it's much cooler to the touch. Cancer season is cooler in the sense that we're emotionally spurred and intuitively driven. Leo season is about creative drive and passionate action. We're not going to want to do anything we don't feel passionately connected to. And if you think I feel passionately connected to cleaning out my old apartment, I do not, which is why I'm trying to get this done before Leo season comes here. I'm doing this when those malefics are in cahoots so I can really get shit done. Do the stuff you don't want to do early on in the week before Leo season starts, because when Leo season's here, if you don't have a passion for it, you are not going to want to do it. Our consciousness is going to be centered around building a fire and maintaining that fire. It's both the building and the maintenance. Hopefully, you already have a head start on building the fire with Venus rolling through Leo recently, and then Jupiter still being there, and now you can mostly focus on maintaining and building. There's always something to build with the sun in Leo because we can always be bigger, better, and noticed for our passions in new ways. I think that's the crux of Leo season right now, is being noticed for your passion or building a fire around what you currently feel passion towards. Shortly after the sun ingresses into Leo, it meets up with Chiron in Taurus via a square. We're still learning our way around Chiron and Taurus. Don't sweat it if you have feelings of insecurity come up midweek. Don't let these feelings dissuade you from your passion, your creative output, or trying to build that fire. Recognize your current set of limitations that Chiron is presenting, but don't let it dampen the fire entirely. There are other ways to build and feel warmth. You just have to be patient and give the kindling time to warm up. This square with Chiron and the sun is like trying to build a fire with wet wood. Chiron in Taurus is like, hey, I have some fuel for you, and it's not dried out enough to actually catch fire. It's still wood, and it's still technically usable, just not right at the moment. The fixed square needs time. Use the stubbornness of the square to your advantage, and double down on being patient and waiting for the kindling to dry. It will be usable, just not at the present moment. The energy with the sun in Leo will get a lot better next week once we hit that Jupiter Cazimi. This week, we're just getting our bearings and understanding the types of fuel we currently have to burn, and then also thinking about the types of fuel we might want to burn in the future. The fuel that Chiron is providing from the realm of Taurus is not our favorite or the most efficient right now, but it's important that we remain patient and learn how to work with it. We might be so busy working on how to spark our fire within the realm of Leo that we might not even notice that Mercury stations direct on Thursday. I feel like I've lived 20 lifetimes throughout this retrograde, and it's because of it being ruled by the moon. When you have a transit that's lunar ruled, it goes through so many phases and in such a fast pace in such a short amount of time. This retrograde has touched almost every area of life due to the moon being the ruler. If it's felt scattered and pushing you beyond just the realm of Cancer, then that's why. Lunar ruled events seep into all areas of life because the moon touches everything in such a short amount of time. Mercury stations direct at 16 degrees of Cancer, and it'll start to gain planetary speed and resume forward motion. The day that it stations direct, it'll be in a very strong square with Saturn and a very strong sextile with Venus. These aspects will be with us throughout the course of the weekend. That's how we're going to end out the week. And the square with Mercury and Saturn will actually be lingering throughout the entire week, but it does peak towards the end. Saturn's square is a reminder that we can't go rushing off just because Mercury has stationed direct. We need to think critically and seriously about what we learned and how we're going to proceed. The realm of Cancer has been through so much for like the last year. And this retrograde was the final reckoning of all the wisdom and emotional contemplation that Jupiter's transit had set the stage for, not to mention that new moon and Cazimi we had last week. That was all part of this final reckoning as well. Saturn's square is like a rumble strip. If you want to go rushing off and forget everything you learned, then you can. But you're going to feel the resistance, the rumble, as you do it. We can't say that nobody warned us. We can't say that nobody said don't change the name of the podcast, because they did. They said that. And trust me, I'm not changing it. Because Saturn Square is a good reminder that we do know better at this point. We're cutting out the distractions, leaving the unnecessary behind, and making it a point to be more mature in these areas of life. And in turn, Mercury's newfound wisdom and emotional redistribution is going to impact the realm of Aries, where Saturn sits. If Saturn is going to force Mercury to be more concrete and mature, then Mercury is going to stipulate that Saturn validates the emotional burdens that Mercury has been carrying and allow it to redistribute how that weight is carried. This is how the cardinal square is going to come to an agreement. Mercury's sextile with Venus is cuter because it's sextile and it's Venus. Venus is in Virgo, and it's going to be offering logical support to Mercury. It's like Mercury is calling tech support, but actually gets a human and one that is super helpful and down to earth. Venus in Virgo is literally like a tech support angel, truly, and it's going to be offering Mercury assistance in how to continue being its best self after redistributing the weight that it's been carrying within Cancer. We might also find that we're not having as many brain farts, or that words and ideas seem to flow a lot easier towards the end of the week. Don't get cocky. Don't get overly confident. But breathe a sigh of relief that things are moving forward again, and that even that your technology isn't glitching out so much right now. Listen to the wisdom and goodness that Venus is offering at the end of the week. Mercury could definitely use a hand, and Venus's tech support will do the trick. This harmonic sextile is also really saying that although it may have been a bumpy ride to get here, we are moving in the right direction. And if you need any last-minute adjustments or tune-ups, Venus will gladly provide those. The critiques and helpful energy from Venus will be welcomed because that's Mercury's home base. Mercury in Cancer is like, yes, ma'am, I am here for what you have to say. So when we run into a critique, suggestion, or even criticism from the realm of Virgo, it shouldn't feel like a put down. It's like a, oh shit, you're right, let me get myself in order real quick. This sextile might breed a little anxiety depending on the houses that it lands in for you. Venus might be overly anxious about Mercury's ability to stick the landing, so to speak. But I honestly think it's all good vibes between these two. And we need to ride that wave and feel good about our Mercury retrograde changes, edits, revisions, progress, and emotional redistribution. One last thing before I go, Jupiter is still hee-hawing with the generational planets and will be until the end of the month. Do with that information what you will. I'll be too focused on drying out Chiron's kindling to care, but just know that those generational aspects with Jupiter are still in play. Have a great week, and I'll meet you back here next time. Thank you for tuning into this week's forecast. If you want more astrological content, including horoscopes, retrograde guides, and occult ramblings, subscribe to my Substack at Delana. It's the best way to keep up to date with my work and to never miss a post. To book a reading with me, sign up for my mailing list on my website, moonmattersastrology.com. I'll meet you back here next week, but until next time, later days.